All right, it's time for Draft Class to discuss the 2026 NBA Draft Class, preview the college basketball season from the field of 68. Jeff Goodman. Jeff, how are you?
What's up, man? It's been a while.
Let's go through some college prospects NBA fans need to know. Looking far ahead here to the 26th draft, of course, college basketball season starting on Monday. The top three: AJ Dybantsa, BYU; Cam Boozer, Duke; Darryn Peterson from Kansas. Which of those prospects, Jeff, would you have ranked first? And let's start with whoever that player is.
So I said it 2 years ago. I was on the AU circuit and I'd seen, AJ for a couple of years, had seen Cam for a couple of years. And it was my first time watching Darryn Peterson. He played in the Adidas circuit. So it didn't see quite as much of him. And I saw him probably play 4 or 5 times. And then I remember going up to one high major coach. And I love AJ and I love Cam. Love them. Love them. You're not going to hear me say a bad word about any of these three guys. But I walked over to one high major head coach and I was like, why isn't this kid the number one player in the country? I don't understand, because the difference for me, Boozer, and we'll get into it, I'm sure, but AJ's probably got the highest upside. Boozer plays hard all the time and produces all the time. Peterson is 6'5", 6'6", is a killer, can shoot it, can get to the basket, can make people better, can defend at a high level. He's long, he's athletic, he's smart, he's competitive. He's just got the whole package, where AJ has most of it. Don't get me wrong, he has most of it, Kevin. I worry a little bit at times, like AJ doesn't always come to play. He chirps at the refs at times. But again, I'm nitpicking here. I love all three.
I mean, all three are sensational. I mean, really, I think that's why this year's draft in the NBA, you will have teams tanking. Ultimately, with Peterson, to your point, though, 6'5", 6'10" wingspan. And I thought the game he had in the preseason against Louisville, 26 points, 15 shots, 5 steals, 4 boards, 2 assists. Like, it just showed kind of the whole complete package of what we could see throughout this entire season from him, where like he had a sequence where he hit a 3 off a screen going to his right, like just stopped in a dime, popped, nailed the shot, all net. Then on defense, he stuck to his man through a screen, deflected the pass, got a steal, got the ball, and then hit a pull-up 3 from NBA range, all in a matter of like 30, 35 seconds. And it's like, okay, that if you just see one clip of a player, you'd be like, okay, this guy is going to be an NBA player. And then you watch him over and over and over, and you learn he's also a dog. He always brings it on defense. He's a playmaker. He's a creator. He's an elite shooter. It's like, okay, that's why this guy is getting some of the elite comparisons that he is.
Bill Self has said it. He's the most talented player he's ever coached.
That's high
Last
praise.
I checked, he coached Joel Embiid at Kansas. He coached Andrew Wiggins, who was super talented, supremely talented, but I was probably
Maple Jordan, critic. Jeff. Maple Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, he was just he played to the level of his competition way too often.
Oh, yeah.
Took too many nights off. But yeah, this kid doesn't really take nights off. The big question with Peterson is there going to be too much on his plate? Like, he's going to be the best combination of productive player and talent Bill Self has ever had. But the question is, does he have enough around him to take this Kansas team to a Final Four, to make them where they're top 10, or they just don't have a lot of shooters around him or the highest level talent. They got a freshman in, this kid, Cole Rosario, that they got in, reclass freshman, who's big and strong and can shoot it. He'll help, but it's not the most talented Kansas team around Peterson.
Now, do you think from an NBA draft standpoint, that's something that when you talk to NBA teams, they'd be, concerned about if Kansas isn't winning at the level? No, not one bit.
No, not at all. Zero. In fact, I think in a way, teams already know that. So Peterson's fortunate in that, like, sometimes you want those lower expectations. And I think he'll overachieve, and people understand that, this team isn't set up to win a national title. So if somehow they go to a Final Four, it'll give them even more value in terms of, a winning type player, which I think he is. I think again, like, that dude just comes to play, and he doesn't give a shit about the other stuff, Kevin. Like, he does now on the level of 1 to 3 of not giving a about the other stuff, I would say Cam Boozer is among the elite I've ever been around of just being focused on winning and the right things. Like Cooper Flagg was like that too. They're similar. Like Cooper didn't do a one-on-one interview all year during the season last year. Cam won't be that because that was like agent driven too. But Cam just doesn't care, doesn't say much, kind of vanilla, just wants to play ball and win games. And listen, there's a reason. And I'm sorry, I'm going to get onto the Cam Boozer thing already here, but
feel free.
There's a reason I'm picking Duke to win it all this year. And it is Cam Boozer, period. The dude does not lose.
Did you see the clip of him and during a preseason game at halftime, getting his team going? It's like, dude, it's preseason, and I'm getting fired up watching this clip of a teenager getting his team going. It's really no wonder that Cam Boozer won a national title every single year in college, a state championship, right?
Yeah, and at Peach Jam, which is the preeminent summer event, the one that everybody goes to, the one that kids cry when they lose at. So it's not this normal AU event. And he won it all 3 times. And, 2 of them came against Cooper Flagg's team.
It's insane. I mean, look, I think with Boozer, most people you talk to have him third behind Dybantsa and Peterson. I think that's purely an upside ranking. I think what a lot of people would say it that way, but Boozer, 6'9", 7-foot wingspan. We saw in his best game in the exhibition phase for Duke, 24 points, 23 boards, 6 assists. I feel like with Boozer, one of the things that people say about him entering the season is, well, Dybantsa and Peterson are clearly offensive initiators. They're creators. They're bucket getters. Boozer isn't that, but do you think Boozer's creation is a little bit understated because you see him with pull-ups, the post-ups, the quickness, the fluidity? I feel like maybe there's more there than people are giving him credit for. Would you agree there? Or do you think that the people who do say he's below those other guys are in the right?
They're in the right, but I'll say this. He's really expanded his game, since I first saw him 3 years ago. Now he can step out. He, slowly kind of every year I saw him, it was, okay, he was more of a low post guy at 15. At 16, he was able to kind of step out and make him from, 15, 17. And this past summer, a year ago, he was able to really shoot the ball from 3 at a pretty good clip. So whatever you need him to do, he's not a great athlete, but he's super cerebral. He's always in the right place defensively. I compare him a little bit, again, like a Cooper Flagg in terms of how he approaches the game, a Tim Duncan, not in terms of his game necessarily, but like the methodical, fundamental way that Tim Duncan was. And again, he wasn't a guy that was flashy, not on the court, not off the court. Cam Boozer's similar.
Is it possible that people are just overthinking it in that sense with Boozer, that he is actually the best prospect in this class? Like, he's just a guy who's won at literally every single level, every single competition. Isn't it possible, like, even though he doesn't have these star, the size, the big wing of AJ Dybantsa or the dynamic scoring of Darryn Peterson, that actually Cam Boozer at 6'9" with a 7-foot wingspan is just going to be one of those classic fours who's just part of a winning team for every single year of his NBA career, and he ends up the best player in the class? Like, isn't there a chance of that?
Yes. No, there's a chance he averages 20 and 10 at Duke. There's a chance he averages 20 and 10 in the NBA, and it wouldn't shock me at all. Again, so many people are blown away by the multi-dimensional wing, right? That's AJ. AJ, you look at him and you're like, holy crap, like what he could be. Darryn Peterson, same thing, the guy that you put the ball in his hands and just say, hey, he can make a play no matter what for himself and for others. Boozer's different, and that's why I think he ultimately doesn't go number 1, but I think he could go number 2, and I think he could be he's the safest. He's the safest pick of the 3. You know what you're going to get out of him. But again, I would agree to the critics that would say, like, his upside isn't quite as high as those other two guys.
I think it's a fair thing to say. I mean, especially given what you said about Peterson, and then with AJ Dybantsa, he's 6'9", 7'1" wingspan. He's a very talented offensive creator. With AJ, what do you like about his game, and what are some of the things that you need to see him get better at to become the number one guy come next June?
I mean, his length, his athleticism, his tenacity, his ability to, again, be that guy who can do everything, right? Like, he can score in every way possible. He can be a menace defensively because of his length, because of his athleticism. You know, a Paul George type player, but I think mentally tougher than Paul George ever was. And I mean, maybe that's not saying a ton.
Well, that was the funny thing about what Kevin Young said to your writer at the Field of 68, Sam Lance. He said, Paul George comes to mind as like a guy with a two-way ability that he's asking AJ to be this year. But I agree. Like, the mindset is just opposite ends of the spectrum. No yes. Disrespect to Paul George. No disrespect. Right. But AJ Dybantsa, he's from Brockton. I'm from Brockton. I know the type. I mean, he's an MFer is what AJ can be on the court.
Yeah, and his dad is from Brockton and pushes him hard. But AJ's also super smart. All three of them are, really. All three of them. I've gotten a chance to know all three of them. Boozer, like I said, doesn't say a whole lot. But again, they're different personalities, but I think they're all high character guys. To me, I think the biggest thing for AJ is just the consistency in his three-point shot. That's the biggest thing that I worry about. But again, with a lot of those guys, I mean, if you had ever told me that Jaylen Brown would be I know he didn't shoot it great last year from three, but would be what he's been in the NBA in terms of an above average 37% three-point shooter, I would have said no way back at Cal or in high school when I saw him on the AAU circuit. So I think Dybantsa works. I mean, they're all workers too. Like I said, you can't nitpick at these three. You can't even do it, Kevin. Like, I hope people don't start to do it during the season.
No, people will do it. People are going to do it.
I know. They're going to do it. I know. All I'll say is, like, tank. Like, the Chicago Bulls, like, you're doing it all wrong right now. You're doing it all wrong.
You think it's that type of year where even some of these teams, and we're recording
the
this
Celtics.
Yes. Well, as we're recording this, for what it's worth, as we're recording, the Bulls are 4-0. The Celtics are 2-3 right now. That's too many wins, is what you're saying for these teams.
Hell yeah! Like, you don't think Brad Stevens wants this year to be about, okay, let me build up some trade value with some of these guys, right? Simons and whatever else he can. I don't know what else he can do, but yeah, you want a Derek White, a Jaylen Brown to have minor injuries to whereas they're out 2-3 weeks, and then you look up at the break and you're 15 games under 500, and you're like, maybe we can get in the mix here and be the next Dallas Mavericks and get lucky in the lottery.
And with Dallas, they had the 11th best odds, and then they moved up. So you don't need to be a 17-win team. You can be a 32-win team or a 28-win team.
And get in the top 5.
Yes.
I'm not even, like, we've talked about 3 guys, Kevin, so far. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, this draft is about way more than 3 guys. There's some other guys here that would have went number 2 or 3, maybe 2, even ahead of Dylan Harper a year ago, that are going to go 5, 6, 7 this year.
All right, well, let's move on to some of those guys here, because I want to ask you about who's the lottery prospect that's not getting enough attention.
Probably Mikal Brown Jr. I think he's just kind of fallen off lately because of these other 3 guys, and because Louisville's going to have so much around him, Kevin. They brought in, and this is a kid that was the MVP for the U.S. team that AJ was on. Or actually, he wasn't. I'm sorry. He lost out. He should have been the MVP. AJ got it. Mikal Brown deserved it. Freshman at Louisville, was a small point guard a few years ago and has grown. He's now 6'4". He's long. He can shoot it from 30 feet. I've seen him in workouts. I mean, he can
He had
really,
the
really,
logo
really shoot the
3
ball.
and against Bucknell in their preseason game. Nasty, just pull up at the end of the first half.
He's and he might be, as much as I just told you, like the 3 kids off the court are awesome. I'm not sure I've been blown away by a kid speaking to him for 30 minutes like I did a couple months ago with Mikel Brown, a freshman, a kid his age, and his dad works him. This is a relentless worker who, again, has gotten better, still figuring out his body. And that's one of those things where in the past, he was small, so he would use the floater game and understand he couldn't finish through contact. Well, now he's 6'4", so he's trying to get adjusted to this now that, hey, I'm athletic now too. I wasn't that athletic. I can dunk on dudes now. So it's still a process for Mikel. He's not going to put up the numbers of any of the other 3 scoring because Louisville's got a lot of dudes, and they brought in 2 or 3 guys, veteran guards that are elite shooters, and Ryan Conwell, Isaac McNeely, Adrian Woolley. So he could average 13 a game, 12, 13 a game, and 6 or 7 assists. And I still would say, like, okay, I think he could be the number 4 pick.
Now, with like Brown and guys like Nate Ament at Tennessee, among others in this year's class, it feels like the tiers are the top 3 we're talking about with Boozer, Dybantsa, and Peterson, and then a bunch of others. Do you see any world in which anybody breaks through and surpasses anybody in that top 3?
I mean, I guess Ament could just because of potential. You know, I mean, he looks, he's not as long as Kevin Durant, but he, 6'10", he's long, he's thin. He's not going to put up the numbers, physically. But he had I think he had one game on, 25 points and 25 rebounds. He's tougher than he looks, but it's going to take him some time at Tennessee to get going. Could he? Yeah, like he could if an NBA team looks at him and says, hey, the potential is there down the road. Same thing with Mikel Brown. Like you look at him and the potential is there for him too. But I think right now you're talking about a pretty clear-cut top 3. And then, like you said, a next tier that those 2 are in. Caleb Wilson from North Carolina. He's got to be in there. I mean,
the Wilson Dybantsa battle, yeah. BYU versus UNC. Sometimes it felt like those guys. Oh, wait a minute! It's like kind of the Spider-Man meme, right? Where it's like I don't often go against somebody with all this size, length, versatility, and athleticism.
Yeah, they look similar, right? They are. They're both 6'9", super athletic. AJ's game's a little more refined,
yes,
I think, than Caleb's is. But Caleb's also already an elite defender, where AJ needs to put his mind towards, as you said, when reading the story from the quotes from Kevin Young, he needs to put his mind towards being that. Same thing with Peterson. Like, it's hard. I mean, a lot of these freshmen, right, they're not used to, dominating the game in the defensive end. But now I think all these guys have the ability to be really, really good defenders.
Who's your favorite senior first rounder? Bennett Sturts, maybe?
Oh, yeah, that's my guy. Yeah. I keep forgetting Bennett is a senior now. So last year in Charleston, Drake played here and came in with a bunch of kids, like D2 kids, right, that their coach had brought up, Ben McCollum had brought with him from the D2 ranks. And I fell in love with Bennett Sturts right away. Big guard, big point guard, 6'4". Talk about a kid who knows how to play, man. Like, this kid is just cerebral, does whatever you tell him to do, can shoot it, can get in the paint, can guard. He's not the most athletic dude in the world, but he went from I'm not kidding when I tell you, not on anybody's list ever, to now where he might have been able to go and be a first-round pick last year. The coolest part is, so he calls me when his coach went to Iowa, goes from Drake to Iowa, and he goes in the portal like every kid does when their coach changes their job, pretty much. You just put your name in the portal. And he calls me and he's like, hey, just want to let you know I'm going with Mac. I'm going with my coach to Iowa. And I'm like, oh, you're putting out a huge graphic, you're making an announcement like every kid does now, right? Like every kid, it's got to be done just right, and they got to get the attention. And he's like, no. He's like, just tweet it out. I don't care. Whatever you want to do. And he made, Kevin, I'm telling you, he could have made $3.5 million on the open market.
Really?
And
Wow.
I bet you he didn't even make $1.5 million from Iowa. But he understands like the value of loyalty and also the value of playing in a system. And Ben McCullum taking a chance on him when he had no Division I offers coming out of high school, but also like how this system really suits his game. You know, he's not necessarily a breakdown guy, but he's big, he's smart, high IQ, great passer, can shoot it, can score from the mid range, can get to the basket and finish. He's not going to do it and dunk on dudes, but man, I freaking love this kid. Love him.
I think I forget exactly where I had him ranked last year before he officially pulled his name out, which was kind of the expectation that he wouldn't stay in last year's draft class. But with him, it's like the pick and roll feel for the game feels
insane.
NBA level, right? Like he can pull up, he can snake the pick and rolls, get into the mid range, has a little bit of a floater, like a really good floater. So if he's not able to get to the rim, he still has a touch and an ability to wait like outside the restricted area. And the passing, I just can't wait to see him with better quality teammates around him. And I think from an NBA side of things, it's a higher level of competition. And so teams are going to get to see him against tougher opponents, more NBA caliber or at least international caliber prospects. And that's where you're going to really get a feel. Is this guy a top 10 pick? Is he just a top 20 guy, a late first round pick?
I think he's somewhere in that mix, Kevin.
Yeah.
I think he's somewhere from 10 to 20 would be my guess right now. And he's also wired kind of like Bruiser is. Doesn't say a whole heck of a lot, but man, the kid just wants to win. He'll do anything to win. Like I said, that's part of the beauty of this class is there's not really turds at the top of it. You know, sometimes you'll find some, but sometimes you will, and it's hard to talk around that.
Yeah.
Like with this group, there's none of those. Like they are, like I just can't wait to see them in. And there's been the last few years, the freshman classes have sucked for the most part. I mean, I know we had Cooper last year, but let's face it, like Ace Bailey didn't do a lot for me. 2 years ago, the class was awful. This year, like we've waited for this type of class for a few years.
It's a potential all-timer class is what it really is with those guys up top. And one other guy I think that could be a potential response to that kind of category of favorite senior prospects is Yaxel Lendenborg at Michigan. I mean, he's transferring from UAB. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what he does, kind of replacing Danny Wolf, who had a big year after transferring there from Yale, becomes a pick for the Brooklyn Nets in the late first round. And we'll see how his rookie season goes with Brooklyn. But with Lendenborg, like the dude's probably going to put up massive numbers. I wouldn't expect that to change. Like last year at UAB, he's like putting up 30 and 15 in one night and 28 and 12 the next night. It was like some massive numbers from him. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about his game?
Well, I'm going to tell you first about his background, and you probably don't even know this. He played 10 high school games in his career, 10 high school games. Came from a tough family, had to take care of his younger siblings, has, I think, 5 younger sisters, he told me, and just didn't go to school, didn't care about going to school.
Played video games, right? Like that's what he did a lot. He was like a big gamer, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes. Just sat home and like didn't do anything. And then his mom told him, she's like, "You're going to Arizona Western." And he's like, "No, I don't want to go." And he started crying. And next thing you know, he's in Yuma, Arizona for a couple of years playing junior college ball. Commits to St. John's, like becomes a really good player. Said he was terrible when he first got there. Commits to St. John's. Mike Anderson gets fired. Goes to UAB, has a really good year. Could have went in the portal and made a couple million 2 years ago. Never even entertains it. Is again that loyal. And then after this past year, could have been, I don't know what your people were telling you, but I think he would have went like 25 to 40. He wasn't a lock first rounder like some people were saying. But he goes to Michigan. He's going to make $3 million this year. So he is not an exceptional athlete, but a well-rounded, like you said, he's got some of like, you know, Danny Wolf to his game in terms of the passing ability, an elite level passer, who's an okay shooter, but just kind of a Swiss Army knife type guy who, again, I think plays his way into the first round as a lock late first rounder.
Yeah, I'd say so as well with him. Very interesting prospect. Who's a transfer that has the opportunity to help their draft stock the most this year? Aside from the two of the names we just mentioned with Sturts and Ledenborg.
Jaden Quaintance to me would be the guy. He averaged like 10 and 8 last year at Arizona State. Got $1 million to go to Arizona State last season. The youngest player in the class. So he wasn't even eligible, but he got hurt. He tore his ACL. So he decided to transfer to Kentucky. And this kid is a man child. First of all, he's grown like 2 inches since last year. I mean, he's like 6'10" now. I saw him in Lexington a month or so ago. He's like 6'10", 250, and he looks like a brick house. I mean, he is, but he's skilled. He can pass it. They're going to run their offense, a lot of it through him. Mark Pope will when he becomes cleared to get back on the court. They're not going to rush him. So I don't think he even plays the first few weeks. But this is a kid that, again, like you're talking about being a top 10 pick this year. And he's on a Kentucky team that is absolutely loaded. So he's not going to put up crazy numbers, I don't think. But, he'll block shots. He's an elite level rebounder. He's an exceptional athlete. He is big, strong, tough, and doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't party, doesn't do anything. So another one to add to the list of like great kids.
Do you think we're going to see him by November 18th for the Champions Classic in New York, which the game I will be there?
I don't know. I'm going to be there too. I hope so. Pope said that when we were there, he's well ahead of schedule. I just wonder, you don't want to put him out there. That you don't want that to be his first game. Not there. He better get one before that if he's going to play in that. I would think he plays. I just don't think you're going to see the real Jaden Quaintance. Like, I think you're going to walk away being like, okay, he played 10, 12 minutes. He didn't do a whole lot. I got to wait and see what he's like in January and February.
Yeah, I think so as well. Somebody to be very, very patient with. Who's this year's Cedric Coward? The kind of the no name, unknown, nobody's thinking about him except for the real draft junkies. And then becomes a lottery pick or a mid-first rounder. So who's this year's Cedric Coward?
So I just saw him the other day. Just talked to him. Tyrone Riley of San Francisco. He's 6'5", 6'6", long, averaged about 10 points a game last year. An elite defender, long, athletic, can guard, lefty, gets after it, plays hard, huge upside. Not a great shooter yet, but I think that part of his game will probably make a jump this year. But he's a guy that the NBA teams, 15 NBA teams have already been through San Francisco this preseason. So they know all about him. They're aware. He's a guy that probably right now, I would say, like, he'll be the mid-major guy who has a chance to be a lottery pick.
Interesting. And with a guy like him, why not transfer? Is there any reason he stayed at San Francisco that you've understood?
I mean, he's from out that way, but no, I mean, like, it is crazy because those kids, they can go in the portal, and I don't know what he made this year, but that's a kid that probably could have made, 3 times as much money if he had gone to, high majors were aware of him. But some of these kids understand that maybe they weren't highly recruited like Sturts coming out, and there's some loyalty with some of them. And he also realizes, hey, you know what? If the NBA guys are on me already, well, that means I'm doing something right here. And they get the understanding that, for Bennett Sturts especially, like, okay, yes, you might have gone somewhere else and made more money this year, 3.5 million. But if you're going to the wrong system, does it hurt you? And then you fall out of, you're not a first round pick and you never see a second contract in the NBA. So, the investment, right? The investment of these teams, if you are a first round pick, is very different than you fall out of the first round. So I think for some of these kids, their agents are giving them good advice, which is, hey, you know what? It worked with you in this spot or with this coach. Be careful. The grass isn't always greener on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, I mean, San Francisco's gonna face Santa Clara twice this season, and Santa Clara had featured Jalen Williams, who just won an NBA Finals and has become one of the top 20, 25 players in the NBA. And he was a lottery pick. You don't need to be at a Kentucky, a Duke, one of these big name schools in order to get the attention of NBA scouts and GMs nowadays. You can play at San Francisco, and scouts will come to you and learn everything they got to know and still take a risk on you in the middle of the first round. You don't have to leave. So it's really about where you're comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. Like again, I think there's something to be said for that in this day and age where most kids are taking the money. It's kind of cool to see that, some are and again, staying loyal might be the wrong word, but just understanding the value of like, hey, it's working out for me. I'm not going to screw this up.
I mean, it's just so funny talking about it this way, how much things have changed with college basketball, with
Oh,
transfer
crazy,
portal and being talking
crazy.
about guys who get offered triple at different schools. What a
I mean,
different
JT
world,
Toppin,
Jeff.
think about it. Like AJ is probably going to make, and this is a guess. Nobody knows exactly what it's going to be, but when all is said and done this year, AJ Dybantsa is probably going to make $6-7 million. Now, this was the year. If there was a year to come out of high school or be in college, it's the year because rev share comes in next year. We just don't know what things are going to look like. It's going to be harder. Teams are probably going to have to cheat again. Where this past year it was just like there were no rules. There were no rules. There was no cap. There was no nothing. So this was the year. I mean, look at Braden Smith. Decided to stay at Purdue, and he's going to make great money. Don't get me wrong. He's going to make like $2.5 million. But if he had gone in the portal, like he could have doubled that. Some school, JT Toppin paid Texas Tech $4 million. You're telling me a school wouldn't have paid Braden Smith, the best point guard in the country, $5 million? Probably.
And he'd be making the league minimum in the NBA. That's why these
Right.
guys are deciding to stay as long as they can in college. Like
Of course.
win at a high level. Hopefully,
Well, the
compete for a
international
national-
guys,
Yes.
Kevin.
Yes.
And I know we're not going to talk about this, but it's really changed this year with all these international kids now coming into college, 22-year-olds.
Dame Sarr,
right?
going to Duke.
Yeah. Yeah, they're making money. They're making real money. They're making more money to come over here right now. And a lot of the college coaches are like, well, why wouldn't I want a 22-year-old, kid Darryn at Virginia, 22 years old? I'll take that. A kid, Sananda Fru, is a German kid, 6'10", who's not a freshman. I think he's deemed a junior at Louisville. Well, yeah, if you could do it. But next thing you know, I've said this, I think in a year, LeBron's going to be like, well, why can't I go and play with Bryce James? What rule is going to stop me? I'll sue the NCAA and everybody wins.
Can you imagine that?
It's far-fetched, but not that far-fetched.
I know, really. What's your take on what are you understanding from NBA teams about this? There seems to be a positive feedback in your experience talking to NBA people about this.
They love it because they get a chance to see all these kids here. They don't have to go over, and a lot of these scouts don't, make a ton of trips. Some do, but there's a lot of them that aren't going to go over there multiple times. Now they can see all these kids over here. Now, again, the international crop overseas isn't going to be great this year. That's going to be the difference. But yeah, I think they're looking at, some of these kids, kid Neo at Virginia Tech, who almost came out after a strong combine. And Mike Young has said, the Virginia Tech head coach has told me, he's the most talented player I've ever coached. He's kind of like Igor from BYU last year, but a better shooter, 6'9" point guard. So there's a kid that I think to really watch from the international group that could take a jump, because Mike Young also one of the best coaches and developers in the game. So that kid's going to get a lot better this year.
Jeff, appreciate you so much joining me today, man. Please tell people all about the Field of 68 and where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, so Field of 68, we started up about 4 or 5 years ago, Rob Doster and I, and we cover college basketball like nobody else. We have shows every night. We have guys like Tyler Hansbrough, Randolph Childress, Matt McCall, myself and Rob. John Fan has been on it. He helped started this thing off. And basically we cover college hoops like nobody else does, 365 days a year. And we're relentless in how we cover it. So you can follow us, we're on YouTube, Field of 68, the Field of 68 on X, Twitter, Goodman Hoops for me. And good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Likewise,
I'm glad you're
Jeff.
back in Boston. I assume you will also be at the BYU UConn game a couple days before.
I sure will be at that for sure. Yeah,
I'll see you both.
Oh, nice. Looking forward to hang out there. Jeff, I appreciate you so much joining me today, man. Thank you. I've always admired how relentless you are and everything you do. So it's awesome to see Field of 68.
I'm glad for all your success, man. I remember, I remember when you were just breaking in and doing your draft guide, and it's cool to see good people, good, hardworking people be rewarded. So I'm glad you're doing well. I still don't know why the hell you moved back to Boston to do the Winners, but to each their own. Family does mean something.
Family. It's home at the end of the day. For now, who knows though what the future brings, but it is home. It'll always be home. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much for joining.